Okay, I jumped on here to show you guys some of these watercolor brushes and just the brushes in general that are on Photoshop. Some of them come pre-downloaded on here, but then you can get on Adobe's website and they have a bunch of free brushes. So first of all, I'm going to make a copy of my background layer. I suggest you do this anytime you're working in Photoshop in case you mess up, so that you don't have to go up and do edit, undo constantly and get maybe so far into something that you've messed up that you can't undo it. And this way you can just delete this. But these are some of the brushes in Photoshop. I personally like the wet brushes, and if there's a brush that you do like that isn't a wet brush, you can always go into your brush settings and change it to a wet brush. But I like the look of that because I think it looks more like a watercolor. But say you mess up, you don't like what you've done, just go on your layer and delete it and make a new. Just make sure you always make a new background layer. So I'll show you some of these watercolor brushes and then some of the splatter brushes, and then I'm just going to show you some of the things that you can do with them. I'm going to use the same color the entire time just so you can see the difference. I mean, in the brush, it really changes the tone and really just the color in general, depending on what brush you're using. I had just seen some that I had named that I liked, but now I don't see them. So I'll just show you some of these. That's why I suggest really just going through and finding which ones you like the best, because there's so many of them that you won't know which one you used last and which one was your favorite. I think that's a nice one, but I like wet edges, so you can kind of build up the color that you're going for. Or you can pick them through here. That way you can see whether or not they have wet edges before you even use the brush. So this one does. I'm going to go show you some of these splatter brushes, and then I'll show you what you can do with them besides just making a mess. So these splatter brushes I think look a lot like watercolor as well, and that's why I have them listed as my favorites. I'll show you some that maybe aren't. Anyways, there's a lot of neat ones. You should download some of them, try them out, rename them, figure out which ones you like. I'm going to delete this layer, and then I'm going to show you some of the things that I've done with the brushes. So this is an example. This is not a senior. That's my daughter who's 10. I just don't have any updated seniors in my portfolio right now. So this was the little paint that I did with the green, and just used a color picker, picked the exact same color out of her jacket and used that as my brush. Then I have this little gold layer that I got offline, used it, created a layer mask, colored it black so that you couldn't see it at all, and then colored the white on that layer mask. If you're not familiar with layer masks, I'll probably make a separate video about them. if that's something you're interested in. This was the original picture, and then I painted it to where it looked like this. And then I was going to show you really quick how easy it is to do this. So I'm going to duplicate my background layer and put it on top. Change the opacity down so I can see what I'm doing. Create a layer mask. Since the layer mask is white, I'm going to be brushing on with my black. Then I'm going to find a brush that I like. We'll go with this one. So the opacity is at 100, but it's not actually painting all the way through because it's kind of a building up of color, which on this one I'm painting it off, but you can tell through the layer kind of like where it is and where it isn't. And I think that's really what I like about these brushes, is that it kind of builds up when it's set as a wet brush. And then I'll just go back and change the opacity of the paper, and it's kind of like a whole new piece of art. Yeah, hope you liked my little video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. You can see here, I'll fix this real quick and then I'll be done. You can see here where I painted off of it. So I just go on the picture itself, do a free transform and make it bigger so that it's not that way. Yeah, hope you liked my video.